All right. Everybody sees my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, welcome everyone. Happy to see you all. And happy to see returning people. That's amazing. Today, we're going to talk about root cause analysis, specifically root cause analysis with a PRIZ Innovation Platform. Now, for newer people here, PRIZ Innovation Platform it's an online platform that helps to accelerate ideation and innovation processes through systematic problem solving. Now, talking about root cause, and like in any presentation, we like to start with a quote. And the quote for today is, we need to discover a root cause of a success rather than the root cause of a failure. And this is actually what we're going to concentrate a lot today. Instead of just understanding what is the root cause, which is not necessarily very helpful, we're going to try to find ways how we flip this coin and use that information to make our lives better going forward. But the first thing is, what is root cause? The definition of root cause. And I'll give a minute for people to pitch in into that. What do you guys think is a root cause?
By the way, if you have a question or you need to tell something, just unmute and tell it.
Yeah, just interrupt us.
Yeah, just interrupt that, no problem.
So the traditional definition of a root cause is a fundamental reason of a problem, which is great. We can know the fundamental reason of the problem, but that's kind of a dead end. There is nothing we can do about it. We know it, it's great, now what, right? The more practical definition of a root cause is a source of a defect, but if we remove it, then the defect is either decreased or removed completely. Now, this is something useful and something helpful. We can do something with it, we can move forward with it, we can actually decide to remove that root cause and move forward and improve. Now, how do we search for root cause? And this is where the root cause or cause and effect chain analysis of different shapes and forms comes in. Conceptually, the main concept in here, it's nothing happens for a reason, without a reason. And of course, something happened, a butterfly flips its wings, it's great. Something happened on the other side of the world. The interesting piece is what happened all the way in the middle. Now, how do we do that? Pretty simple. The concept, I'm sure that everybody is aware of that. We moving from the target disadvantage or from the original visible observable failure by asking the question why and answering the question why, going through all of these different causes and different reasons and answering the question of why they happen, and moving down this chain until we get to the key disadvantage. Now, the outcome of this approach, there's several outcomes actually. First of all, we learn how system works. Like any other tool that we're presenting, I'm sure any other problem-solving tool that we don't even have. First and foremost, we as engineers, or anybody who's working on a problem, analyzing the problem, analyzing the failure, we will learn better how our system works, even though we think many times that the system, that we know everything, all the details. Hopefully we will find the root cause itself. We will generate ideas as part of that process. And with the main target to find a solution to the problem. And we will talk about these things. Now, a slight history, and I'll just briefly jump through this slide. The 5 whys was invented in 1930 by the inventor of Toyota. And by the way, we have a representative of Toyota here Benjamin. And the interesting part that this approach wasn't even enforced, I think a couple of decades after it was invented. It wasn't even enforced in Toyota. And as we know, Toyota is pretty big on quality and pretty good when it comes to dealing with quality. Now, diving into 5 whys as a RCA tool, as a root cause analysis tool. As you can see, we actually call it the 5+ whys, and we'll see the reasons for that. Now, and we'll start with an example. Let's assume I have a headache, and that's my failure, that's my problem. Great. Now, we need to ask the question why and answer that. Potentially, I have a high blood pressure. Okay, why is that happening? A high salt concentration in my blood. Okay, why is that happening? I don't care much about my diet. Why diet is so important for me? Because maybe I have stomach problems. Why is that? Well, somewhere in the past when my mom was pregnant, she was smoking. Okay, now we basically got at this point to the fundamental root cause, or to the root cause that we can't really move forward, we can't change. And realistically speaking, it's a dead end. There is nothing we can do about this. We can potentially, convince other new mothers not to smoke so their children don't have problems. But for me right now, I can't do anything about it. Okay. Now let's start moving, analyzing each and every one of these causes, and maybe we will find a solution. So what if I treat the stomach problems as my root cause? Well, potentially I can have a surgery or whatever treatment it is for the stomach. Okay, maybe I don't want to, surgery. What if now I can treat the diet as a root cause? Maybe I will need to change the diet. Okay, great, but I like my Irish breakfast. What's next? If I treat the high salt concentration as the root cause, drink water, maybe supplements, whatever the different, sports. Great, I don't have time, I'm working in clean room, I don't have an access to water, whatever the case is, I don't want to even think about it. Well, for high blood pressure, same here, we can try to solve the problem at this level. There are pills for high blood pressure, great. And if that's not the one I want to deal with, I can actually take painkillers and the headache will be gone for now, right? So as you can see, this entire chain, anywhere in that chain, I can solve the problem of a headache, not the problem of the failure of the headache, right? However, if I solve it somewhere in the middle, I will solve it potentially in the short term, but for the future, the same problem might return. But if that's really the root cause, for example, as I mentioned before, if I convince the moms not to smoke during the pregnancy, maybe for their kids it's going to be better. But for me right now, it's not going to help. So conceptually, the way how we propose to use the 5+ whys approach is as described. We have the target problem or the target failure. We're asking the question why, finding a reason for each and every one of them, until we get to some possible key problem or some possible dead end or logical end. Now, to do something with it, to take it further, we want to potentially find a solution on each and every level, and then decide which one of these reasons I want to start solving. Now, the possible dead end, what is called here, it's called a fundamental root cause. It's great. It's usually nothing we can change or something that we cannot, we don't want really change. The other ones, the reasons in the middle, they call it auxiliary root causes. And that's usually we can affect. And if we're removing these reasons, usually we can solve the problem for now, but the problem might return. So some directions here. Each of the found reasons can be a root cause. That's a very important rule. We can treat it as a root cause. We can define how we can eliminate that, and eliminating that reason will potentially solve the problem. Then, as we talked about last time, in our last webinar, we can use the round robin ranking to decide which one of these root causes I want to actually approach and address and solve. Now, the other approach for analyzing for cause and effect chain is a tree diagram. Now, this is a much more holistic view on a system. It also helps us to find the root cause. Conceptually, it's very similar. We still need to answer the question why, but we allowing ourselves to have a tree. So instead of having only one single reason for the problem, we can have two or much more potential reasons for the problem. Now, what's the benefit over the linear approach? It's a much better approach to learn how the system works. We could potentially flip this tree logically and say, what could happen if we do a change, for example, right? An example to that, we planning to implement a specific change. Instead of asking the question why, we can even ask what could happen as a result of the change, and then take it further.
Now leads to.
Or leads to. Whatever works for everyone, but it's a way of thinking. It's a structured way of thinking. And we can potentially take a direction of where we want to take the solution from, and we will have an example about this exactly. So to compare between these two approaches, this is how it looks in PRIZ Innovation Platform. On the left-hand side, we have an example of a tree, cause and effect chain tree diagram, and on the right-hand side, we have the 5 whys or 5 plus whys officially. Now, some very important tips about root cause analysis. As we just mentioned, the tree diagram is much better suited for learning and understanding the system rather than searching for the root cause. Linear approach is actually much better for searching for root cause and generate ideas for the solution. Now, answering the question why, and we'll dive into some of the examples there. It's very important to be very detailed. We can jump over several reasons, but we can miss, if we're jumping over several reasons, then we can miss a lot of details, right? So think about it like slicing a bread and trying to find something in that piece of bread, like a pea or a pearl inside of that bread. This is how you find it. You need to slice it as thin as possible. We ideally should continue to the logical end. And the logical end, again, two cases: either we don't want to deal with that any further, or we cannot change it. An example for that could be, some physical properties, like we talked about metal that potentially heavier than water. Whatever the case is, something that we cannot really change. And to remind that the end of that chain is the fundamental root cause, or something that we will consider as a fundamental root cause. And the fundamental root cause is something that will potentially help us solving the problem in the future, but doesn't necessarily going to help us solving it for right now. The auxiliary root causes, we can actually use it to solve the problem right now, but the problem may reoccur in the future. Out of all of that, there is one golden key, and that's the one that we talked about. Slice it as thin as possible. That's very, very important. An example that we're using in our training many times, it's a vacuum that trips a circuit breaker when it works, right? And the traditional approach, the shorter and the quicker, the better. And that's the potential root cause diagram that we might get to. That's not very useful because we don't have enough details, or we can miss the actual details. Now, a much better approach, much more effective approach is slicing it as thin as possible and going into as much details as we need to find the root cause. Now, an example that we have in here, and I will give the stage to Anatoly to talk about this one.
Okay, just one more example. It's about microelectronics, about chips manufacturing. The Benjamin is waiting for chips. One of operations is flash heating. Sometimes process need to be done at very, very fast heating in order to avoid diffusion, in order to activate ions, but keep them in the same place. And there is a special equipment chamber. Alex, you can show the chamber with chamber, no. With a cursor, just with a cursor.
Oh, the chamber, sorry.
Yeah, with a cursor chamber and pedestal made from quartz, and a wafer is located on the bumps. And there are some centering pins. There is a lamp light, bottom light, which is working constantly, providing 400 degrees centigrade. And there is a flashlight, upper light, which should heat the wafer up to 1000 degrees centigrade for 1 second. And what happened that not all wafers, but sometimes wafers become broken. And it's not good. It's very big problem. And if we just, Alex, please click. Okay, if we analyze, let's have a look on cause and effect chain, wafer breakage. It could happen due to, Alex, please continue to show. No, to show with no. Okay, to show with cursor. Thermal stress, this is a thermal stress. Why? Because of flash heating. Someone sent Sergio. Sergio, could you tell it?
I don't want to interrupt you. Just let you finish that. Then
okay.
Okay. My question.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So we picked up two directions: thermal stress and due to flash heating, or it could be mechanical stress. You can bend wafer, nothing will happen. But if you make mechanical heat, it could destroy. So mechanical heat, in order to make mechanical heat, you should move, either move wafer or something. You should move wafer, and you should have some surface that wafer can get heat. And so there are two directions. And what we found out, that wafer actually flies. Please, one more click. Alex. Okay, wafer flies because, you know, we have two very different temperatures. We have very, very fast heating. This is tornado, and wafer is just flies and heats, and heats. We believe it heats centering pins. So a couple of ways. First of all, if we remove pressure or perform it in vacuum, it will help because no wind. If we keep the wafer stationarily there, somehow glue it, it's also good. Or we can change the form of the pins. Alex, please, next. Yeah, we propose this one. And actually, we can have high atmosphere, 1 atmosphere pressure, and doesn't matter, wafer can fly, and it should be kept alive. So, Sergio, your comments, please.
Yeah, it was only a curiosity because generally root cause analysis is made with arrows on the opposite side that follows the Y logic direction, and you chose an opposite direction, even if there is a Y written. So, so you are following a root cause chain logic with the arrows, while the logic of the Y goes backwards. It was just my question was: it's just for a readability for the final chain?
You know, I can answer you. I studied trees and root cause analysis from Gen 3, from trees guys, and they all explain, and in all articles I read about this, everywhere arrow was placed from the cause to the from in the direction as we made. Why? Because flash heat made it thermal stress, and if you go to the internet, you will see 90% this direction. Generally, it's not so important. This is a question of you know, how we studied it, and
preference.
This is what we studied. And again, from my long training I received in cause and effect chain, the arrow also always goes up from the reason to the.
In a software I saw, I think 20 years ago, there was in the construction part, in the building of the root cause, the arrows follows are backwards. So why wafer breakage? Because thermal stress, and then when you have the final chain, the Y disappear and comes a verb that is causes, but it's not a criticism. It's just
okay. I see.
That,
you know, I understand. I know. Yeah, you're right completely. Actually, why let's say operator Y is goes from up down, and the operator the answer goes in the opposite direction. Excellent, very good.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's very good point. Thank you. Very
we
good.
have.
Yeah, we will think about this. Yeah. This is could be some, you know, testy feature in the analysis. It's good.
Great. Any other questions, inputs? Okay, great. So before we dive into the actual demo itself, we have both of these tools available. So the 5+ or Ys are officially called 5+ Ys. Again, for reasons that we don't enforce the 5s and we don't stop at 5. And the tree diagram for cause and effect chain analysis as well. So on that note, we will go to the platform itself. Now, in this case, we'll open a completely new project. And in this case, we decided to analyze why there is floods on when there is massive rains. Floods during massive rains. And I will skip the details of the actual project itself and dive into creative tools. So the first one that we want to start with is the cause and effect chain. Again, we want to understand holistically what's going on at as high a level as possible and drill into the details. So the main failure right now, floods.
Streets are flooded
Streets are flooded.
Streets are flooded with rain.
Flooded. Now, that's great. That's a failure. Now what? Why is that happening?
What do you think? I think because the water is accumulating. Again, we should, you know, analyze it as soon as possible. Water is accumulating.
Apologies.
Accumulating.
I can't spell today. It's morning.
Yeah. Accumulating on the street. On the street.
Right.
Okay. What do you think?
Now, why is that?
Draining slow.
Draining slow. It's too slow.
It's too slow.
It's slow.
And coming because it can, yeah.
I think there is another one.
Edit water is too fast.
The water is coming too fast. The water is added too fast.
Okay. And why water is added too fast? Because of strong rain.
Strong rain.
Actually, nothing to do with it.
Right. So we can say that this is, well, we'll dive into analysis later. So why the drain is too slow?
Maybe drainage capacity is not enough for the current water flow.
Maybe,
this is a repetition.
Yeah.
Maybe debris.
This is a repetition. Drawing is too slow. It's another way to say that the draining capacity is low. So it's just another way of telling the draining.
Not exactly. Let's rephrase it then.
Okay.
That's a good discussion to have.
Yeah. Sure. Guys, tell us.
So we can say that drainage, the regional
debris is collected
drainage.
in the drain. Okay, this is in
Just a second.
Mhm.
The regional drainage capacity is not enough, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Now
it's a project failure. This is a
Okay.
regional project.
Potentially.
Failure. Okay.
Now,
Design
why
failure.
else can it be, right? And that goes back to potentially a different reason, right? Is it the debris that
Debris.
Yeah.
debris? How do I spell it? Debris.
Debris. Yeah. This one.
Is collected in or on the drain, right? Why is that happening? Potentially there is
clogged drainage.
Well, that is
this is the same
drainage, right?
We have leaves.
So we have leaves and the actual debris, whatever the debris is. Let's concentrate on the leaves.
Leaves,
leaves
exactly.
Area, area. Why is that happening?
Falling down, yeah.
Because leaves are falling down. Falling. Also, we have potentially, the flow of water. Water drags the leaves into to the drain, and so on, right? So now we start getting some sort of picture, understanding what's happening, what's going on with this system, with the system of rain and the water that is draining, right? Now, the fact that we have strong rains is great. It's one of these cases that it's a great root cause, but there's nothing we can do about it, right? I'll mark it as a red for myself. Not much we can do about it. Now, as we talked about, the original capacity is not enough. We can even add here. It's originally designed for a smaller flow of water, right? Again, same here. It's a great root cause, but what can we do now? We can rebuild it all, but it's potentially expensive.
You can write down that we cannot currently change it.
We can't really change it for now. Change it right now. Or it's just simply too expensive. Whatever the reason is, do we want to go there? I'm not sure. Now, what about these two? Leaves are falling, right? Or the flow of water drags the leaves to the drain, right? What can we tell about these ones?
No, we can analyze it. We can try to analyze it with 5 eyes. This is
okay.
Saying, let's say this is the most changeable. It looks like something we can operate with.
Okay.
This is
so. At this case, we just need to decide which one of these causes we want to analyze and take it further, right? So there's leaves are falling, or the flow of water is dragging the leaves to the drain, right?
I think we can. I would pick up drainage is locked, is clogged because of leaves. One step before. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Okay. So in this scenario, if we decide to go this direction, this branch, we can again start analyzing. We can decide analyzing at any level of that tree, and that would be fine. In this case, if we decide to go here, we can now move to another much more detailed analysis with a linear approach. And in this case, instead of choosing the original failure that we're working on, we want to analyze this particular failure. Debris is clogged in or on the drain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same approach. Why is that happening?
No,
right?
because
we can ignore all the other branches. We can focus just on that, right? So why is that happening?
Leaves are accumulated on the opening and within joints and
again, I can't spell that. Okay, they accumulated on the opening of the drain. Why is that happening?
Because leaves are filling in this area.
Oops. Okay. Well, I would say this is potentially, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And why? Why? Because we have trees that lose leaves in this area. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think we can stop with this losing.
Okay. Yeah. So we can stop with this. And again, this is a fundamental reason for the problem, or we can decide this is a fundamental reason for the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And we mark it as such, right? In this case, we got four reasons. It could be 50 equally.
Oh, make a big parking. Sergio is writing big parking area. Cut. Excellent. Excellent.
Where
exactly. Remove, Alex, write down, remove these trees and plant different trees. So you
Benjamin is greener than me.
Different ones that don't shed, shed in. I'll put it in quotes.
Yeah, why not? Why not take it into account? Okay, and
so what about this one? If we want to address the leaves are falling in
leaf. Okay, again to plant trees that not living.
Well, even if the conifers are very, very bad trees, because it seems that they do not clog, but I can guarantee, because I have several in my garden, they clog a lot.
Mm-hmm. The conifers don't drop leaves, they drop pine cones, which will probably clog it too.
Pine cones, but there is a lot of resin, and they tend to clog together and make a big. But in some area where the trees are close to streets, so the leaves that are falling are a problem. The trees are, or that part of the trees closer to the streets is covered with the net.
Mm-hmm.
that net smaller than the size of the leaf, obviously.
Yeah. So,
Maybe preventative maintenance then.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking about. Maybe, have somebody to clean it up every day and make sure it's all clean and there's nothing left in the area, or remove the trees completely, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can have the maintenance to remove or to clean up. This can be, or remove the trees altogether. Build something else. Okay, leaves are accumulated on the opening. I feel like there's one step missing, at least for me, somewhere.
Water is dragging. Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
add?
water is. We can't add it because we already got to this.
Okay, you can insert in this filling leaves.
We can rename it because we okay. The water
is dragging
the leaves into the close to the drain, right? In this case, I don't know. We can potentially direct the flow of the flow of the water somehow differently. Maybe direct it to the area that we don't care about.
You know what? I have an idea. We need pumps. Why don't use pumps? We have fire hydrants. In case of fire, we can use it. Why we cannot install some pumps against flooding? And it's very serious. In Israel, 1 year ago, 2 people died because they were in the elevator, in the parking, underground parking, and due to flow, elevators stop working. They cannot get released from elevator. Yuli, do you remember this? I just don't remember. 2 or 4 people died, just died. Why we should not use pumps and bring this water?
Potentially pumps.
Yeah.
Now, if we decide to address the problem here, potentially, again, we could have some preventative maintenance. Yes, we could. Or we can maybe prevent it from clogging the drain. Even if it's collected there, it's not going to stop the water going in.
No, of course, redesign the net or cover of this opening. It should not be like it is done everywhere today.
Right.
If we increase the surface, we can reduce the flow and collect and of course collect leaves.
So the idea of this whole exercise is to conceptually show how it works. Of course, it's a very simplified example. In many cases, it's much more, we should definitely go in much more details, saying exactly step by step and component by component why something affects the other and how. And then we can be in much more details. We can be much more detailed, but conceptually, this is how it works. In this case, we started from a high-level view of a tree diagram to understand where things potentially can go wrong. And then we're choosing one branch that we decide to analyze. And in this case, the branch is somewhat logical because on every other branch, we go into a dead end and there's nothing really we can do about it. This branch has a potential. Now, it's important to remind that we can choose and try to solve the problem at any level in here, as well as in the 5 whys. So in this case, we decided, okay, let's try to address it on this level and drill down, right? It doesn't matter where we start and where we start analyzing and where we start trying to solve the problem, as long as we have a direction, right? And again, that direction might not work, and that's fine. And we can start again. And for example, for some reason, we decided to solve the problem here. We started analyzing that. We didn't go anywhere. That's okay. It's a thinking process. It's all good. We can go back and analyze it again on another branch.
Yeah, and since we decided how we going to solve, we can get and use another tools.
Yep.
For the principles, functional modeling.
Now to choose which one of these solutions we're going to go with, we can rank these solutions. And
yeah,
you know, one of the ways to make the choice, and as we discussed in one of our previous webinars, this tool allows you to compare in pairs instead of choosing randomly somehow in this entire list of potential solutions or potential directions for a solution. We can actually compare them, right? So, for example, the cleanup maintenance, or we actually direct water in another area or use pumps. Which one is then, you know, this is a much longer solution. This is a quick fix kind of thing, but it costs money, right? Maybe this one, it doesn't matter for the sake of the exercise. Maintenance to clean up versus remove the trees completely or plant different trees. I don't know, it depends on the use case. Maybe maintenance, it's too bad to kill the trees. Redesign the cover of the opening. I think this has the bigger potential than you know, replanting the whole city. Redesign or maintenance cleanup. Yes, it is a quick fix. Again, not very sustainable. Maybe redesign the cover. Redirect the water versus replant. You know, we're not going to kill the trees.
Yeah.
We're not going to kill the trees. Redesign the opening versus redirect water. I think this is much more involved in this particular case. So let's try to redesign the opening. So as you can see, we're going back to the 5 whys, and it just happened to be in this particular scenario that they just ordered in this way. That's not always the case, though. Many times we have the solution somewhere in the middle, one of the auxiliary reasons for the problem, right? But it is a thinking process at the end of the day. How do we decide to address the problem, and where, at which level we decide to address the problem? And that is a decision of the group who is working on it and the person who's trying to solve it.
Yeah.
And I will stop at this point for any questions.
I have several. Can you go to the root cause?
Yeah.
Okay.
Root cause, you mean this
diagram?
Tree diagram? Yeah.
For example, between, can you zoom in a little? Between draining is too slow, the two causes are the regional drainage capacity is not enough, and debris is collected in on drain. This is, it seems to me that is an or causes, or one or the other or both. There is a way to handle end causes.
We don't have that. Usually if it's an end, there is a reason why we chose not to go and not implement this, because if you think about it, the end causes, it's basically can be treated as one cause.
So replace trees and add pump, for instance. Yeah, you can handle it separately. You just click on record idea and insert your idea to do this and that, for instance, together.
Yeah, but the concept in this tree diagram is to understand where, again, understand how the system works and the potential causes, potential reasons, and potential directions where we need to go to address the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm any project I start with cause and effect chain. And what is the end? Until I understand the system I'm trying to solve, to analyze, and this is I can spend hours, days, even more to playing with this answers on the question why, until I understand, until I got ideas. And this is an excellent tool that makes you think very, very specifically on very specific subjects. And you suddenly discover things that you never thought about this. I will tell you about a pump. This came to me just now. Just now. Why not pump? It's not worse than fire, you know. It's not better than fire. Yeah.
Sergey had another question.
Yeah, but maybe other people have questions. I don't want
to. Sure. Guys.
I have a question. Where from number 5 comes? Why 5, not 6, not 3?
From Toyota.
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 That's the history of 5 whys.
By the way, why Toyota becomes Toyota? His original family name is Toyota. I don't know how it jumped into Toyota.
Okay.
He made it. Yeah.
So I think we have to define the system that we want to work with, because everything beyond that we can consider as a super system, and that should dictate where from we should go to pick up the solution, to pick up the level where on which you want to solve the problem.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Another thing, maybe consider adding price of the solution as well, and estimate the value of system after solution, or for different solutions, for example. Just think about this. Think about this idea when you perform the ranking, for example. Introduce also the price of the solution. So if you have brilliant solution but it's too expensive, it's not solution actually. It's not real solution. So.
Oh, by the way, we have very good tool.
Yeah. So usually these decisions of comparison, it depends on the group who is working on. It's very subjective for somebody. Like we can implement different criteria in these comparisons, but it's never going to be enough for.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But you can jump to effective brainstorming, and this is exactly what you told about.
Yeah. I remember this. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't mind, one more question. If you can go to the definition of the root cause, to the slide with the definition, to the practical one. I have some concern with the definition. So you say it's a root cause is the source of the defect. Let me give you an example. For example, sun is shining and you have radiation. Okay, radiation can be harmful, but you don't need to remove this sun to avoid damage. For example, you can protect your skin, for example. So you're talking about the removal of the source. It's not necessary to remove the source. That's my point.
It's important to stay in the context. Removing of the source from what? From your skin, right?
Exactly.
And that means protective layer. That means wear a hat. That means be inside the building.
But
it's all removing the sun.
Okay. So if you create very long enough chain, and you see the radiation impacts your skin. Why? Because nothing is protecting your skin against this, and you will you remember this on the left side is a chain of cause and effect, and on the right side is our solutions. On the right side, you will jump up directly to the solution. Again, sun is not making problem with the skin. You should create a it is a very long way to get from sun to the skin, to the harmful of the skin. By the way, this definition is from Cambridge. I'm not saying that Cambridge is let's say I'm not removing our responsibility. But,
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so it's, but again, you should create a long chain.
I see.
It's important that this rule or this tip is what supposedly answers your question, where if you slice it enough, then the sun, which is in your mind currently is the source, right? It's a source of a light, it's a source of a heat, it's a source of the original radiation, yes. But is it the original source for, damaging the skin? Right. If you slice it enough, eventually you'll probably find the cause for damaging the skin is whatever. It's not protected, for example.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Umbrella.
And you can remove the sun. You can remove the sun. It's just a contradiction. You have to remove the sun,
and not remove the sun.
Not removing the sun. So you have to remove from the skin of that particular people. An umbrella, stay at home, put a substance 3 between 1 and 2.
Or drink beer, yeah.
Or drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Or just use the water from the previous exercise.
Exactly.
Any other questions, guys?
I have, but I wait for the other ones because I already talked a lot.
It's excellent. This is excellent.
So it's linked to why 5 whys, and I know the history of the development, but it's more a suggestion. 5 whys had been chosen because you should at least ask yourself 5 times whys in order to achieve that. But sometimes, so the goal is go at least at 5, but in a situation like you experience it, you have the 6 situation, and should be interesting to say at least 5, but if you need more, you can add.
Yeah, or less, okay.
Less, I would prevent, because I would say, ask yourself at least 5 times. That was the original intent. Because otherwise, due to the laziness of people, you stop at 1 or 2 or 3, but at least 5. But if you ask us 6 or more, why not having the possibility to insert, for example, in the middle? Because it happens a lot that you create a chain of causes, making the Y backward construction. And
exactly what happened now, right?
Exactly. And sometimes say, oh, there in the middle, there is something else. So could
I agree.
I would call at least 5 whys analysis, at least. And you can use more.
So the interesting thing about this, many times, at least happens to me when I'm working with 5 whys, somehow it is always close to 5, regardless of whether I try it on or specifically force myself on a, somewhere it's going to be around the 5.
Yeah.
I don't know why this magic number somewhere in there, but somehow it's end up in 5, maybe 6.
Maybe it's a self-realizing effect.
Maybe.
I don't know how it is called in English, but the self-something effect.
Louis wrote some very, very good, very interesting notes. Louis, can you explain? Can you tell us what is this about?
I mentioned that there is an expanded methodology that I got familiar in the past, which is the 5 why 3 legs. And the methodology just expands each why with trying to assess the specific problem, the detection of failure and systemic failure on every why, so that when we have the brainstorming sessions, we can expand on 3 different areas.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. All right.
And by the way, I'll stop the recording, which I completely forgot about.
No, it's okay.